We are heading into our fourth and final season with Everton Football Club, but heartbreak in the FA Cup, Champions League and Premier League last season means we are still without a piece of silverware, but with a couple of new signings this season, I'm hopeful we can finally go all the way. And as ever, if you're enjoying the series so far, please feel free to like and subscribe, and let's get into today's episode. Despite us finishing fourth in the league last season, there was just 1 point separating us between the top of the table Newcastle, and with us being just a penalty shootout away from the Champions League final, and a totally shock exit against an underdog in Crystal Palace in the FA Cup semi-final, we may well have ended our third season in charge of Everton with an unlikely treble. However, if we are going to achieve our goals heading into the new season, I think looking at this team, the starting 11 and the substitutes bench as well, I definitely think we need to make a few more additions to this squad if we want to try and get over the line in the most pivotal moments. Now, Jordan Pickford's career at Everton has been up and down to say the least in this career mode, with some of you thinking I should keep him, some of you thinking I should get rid of him, but with João Virginio joining Millwall when the transfer window opens, I'm certainly going to need at least a reserve goalkeeper to come in and try and fight with this man Jordan Pickford. For some reason, towards the back end of the season, Jarrad Branthwaite was in a right mood. He was throwing a right strop, bursting into my office demanding to leave the club because he wasn't getting enough game time. And that was in spite of him appearing 28 times in the Premier League and 44 times in all competitions, forming what I thought was a formidable partnership with this man Mark Gay. However, with his morale seemingly in a little bit better position than it was just a couple of months ago, I am keen to keep hold of the young Englishman, and I am also keen to add one more central defender to my ranks, considering Zangante, a 75 rated Zangante, is the only reserve centre-back I've got. Similarly in midfield, with Matt O'Reilly, Hamadou Onana and James Garner being the only three in the centre of the park, I would ideally like to add one more player who could compete with those three for a starting spot next season. Plus, with a 79 rated Cesar Huerta and a 78 rated Dwight McNeil not really doing enough to push the likes of Johan Bakayoko and Jota for a starting position, perhaps it might be time to say goodbye to the Mexican and the 26-year-old Englishman and try and see if I can bring in someone who can compete a lot more valiantly, at least with Jota on the left-hand side of my midfield. Now, with Dele Alli rated 77 and being 30 years of age, it's highly unlikely he's going to get much better heading into the new season. However, I did make a pledge at the very beginning of this career mode that I was going to try and do everything I could to revive the career of this young man. Whilst of course I want to try and improve this squad as much as I can and always look to try and bring in some new players to compete with the existing ones, I do still want to retain some of the players that Everton started with at the beginning of this career mode, the likes of Jordan Pickford, the likes of Jarrad Branthwaite, the likes of Onana, and even the likes of Dele Alli, to keep the core of my team alive here at Everton Football Club. However, heading into the new season, with Aston Villa coming in with an offer for Cesar Huerta for £19.6 million, the Mexican will be the first man to depart to the Midlands club ahead of the new season, and Dwight McNeil will be the second as he leaves for the South London club Crystal Palace. Plus, with Club Bruges coming in with a £4.9 million offer from the returning Neil Maupay from his loan spell last season, the Frenchman becomes the third of three major departures this transfer window, as he finally departs the club on a permanent basis. However, with those three major departures, it has helped rise our transfer budget now up to £169 million ahead of the new season. But of course, with a new budget comes a huge amount of responsibility, with the club expecting me to finally win the Premier League, to finally win the FA Cup, and to go one step further in the Champions League and reach the final. It's clearly going to be a huge task for this squad to do that, and obviously it's going to require a huge deal of investment to get over the line. But with those two midfielders departing, leaving me with just Jota and Johan Bakayoko to play on the right and left hand side of midfield respectively. And so that is why we are starting off this season with a bang, going after a long-time target for the club in this career mode. Someone who, much like Dele Alli, was considered a wonder kid in another North London club. He's a man who used to feature heavily for Arsenal but has just lost his way a little bit after a couple of injuries. But now it is time to resurrect his career and finally bring out the absolute best that Emile Smith-Rowe has to offer, as the young Englishman joins Everton Football Club for £42.5 million. The board are delighted because it hits one of our objectives of signing a player of the same nationality as the club, and I'm delighted because after 4 seasons I've finally got my man. You can see he offers us versatility, being able to play out wide on the left but also in central attacking midfield, and in terms of his stats and his development, he's got high attacking work rate, medium defensive work rate, but he's got fantastic stats right across the board. Plus he offers us that experience of being at another huge Premier League club. He still has the potential of developing into a world-class talent, and he can go straight into my starting 11 as we finally have a man who can compete with Jota on the left-hand side of our midfield. And now it's time to switch from the left-hand side of midfield all the way over to the right, and it's finally time to try and bring someone in who offers us just something a little bit different that we don't have at the moment. Bakayoko is a fabulous player and he offers us great technical ability, but he doesn't have that that electric pace to just go past his man down the right-hand side. And so that is why I've decided to bring someone in who's just starting to break into the ranks at the Brazilian national team. Someone who's got experience playing for an English club in Manchester City and is currently now plying his trade for Leeds United on this career mode. It's a man who's desperate to make the step up and challenge for the Premier League title. It's another huge signing of Yan Couto, who joins the club for £39.4 million. He too has got that versatility to be able to play right down the right-hand side, whether it's right midfield or at right back. Plus, as I said, his pace is absolutely electric. And whilst he may not get straight into the starting 11 ahead of this man Bakayoko, it looks like we have finally got enough squad depth on both sides of our midfield to compete at the highest level this season. Now, aside from those signings, I'm actually pretty comfortable with the way my starting 11 is shaping up. But as I mentioned before, in spite of Mark Gay and Jared Branthwaite forming a formidable partnership at the back, Zangante, a 75 rated Zangante, is the only reserve centre-back I've got, meaning that for large parts of last season, the central defensive midfielder James Garner had to fill in a position that he wasn't particularly comfortable with. And so, of course, that means it is now time to go after our third signing of the summer. Now, bearing in mind we play this gegenpressing style, being so aggressive and playing so high up the field, we need a defender who not only has the technical ability to do so, but the physical capability to have pace and be able to track back when I need him to. And so, of course, with that in mind, who else could I decide to bring to the club but the absolutely rapid Frenchman, Maxence Lacroix, as he becomes the third signing from Sassuolo for £34 million. Now, whilst he's not immediately going to come in and storm into my starting 11 ahead of Jared Branthwaite, his arrival at the club finally means that I have 4 centre-backs to choose from ahead of the new season. Plus, with him being 82 rated, he will provide some much-needed strong competition to the likes of Mark Gay and to the likes of Jared Branthwaite at the heart of my defence. And with those 3 new signings still leaving me with £39 million left to spend, I think it's time to add one more player to this ever-improving Everton squad. Now, whilst I said that Matt O'Reilly and Onana formed a wonderful partnership at the heart of my midfield last season, with James Garner, my only other central midfielder at the club, having to fill in at centre-back last season due to the dearth of talent I had in that position, it meant that these two were often running on fumes, especially towards the back end of the season, which I think really cost us in the pivotal moments. And so, whilst I don't necessarily want to bring someone in who's going to storm into the club and try and break up that partnership, I would like to bring someone in who's got some decent stats and can offer us some decent competition in midfield for those pivotal moments in the season. And so that is why I've decided to turn to a man who offers us Premier League experience at a club in Bournemouth, and of course wants to try and improve his own career and prove to the world that he can step up and try and fight at the elite level of football here in England. And that is why I've decided to sign Alex Scott from Bournemouth for £28 million. The 22-year-old has that something special, and with him being able to play in central midfield and central attacking midfield, he offers us a little bit more creativity in the heart of my midfield as well, and with pretty decent all-round stats across the board, and with him having the potential to develop in what I believe will be a world-class talent, we are continuing to add nothing but absolute quality to Everton Football Club. And with our first game of the season already upon us, away from home against Nottingham Forest, it's finally time for our 4 new signings to show the world what they can do. Of those new signings, though, Emile Smith-Rowe is going to be the only one who's going to make his starting debut here for Everton Football Club. As you can see from the rest of my starting 11, it's pretty much very similar to as we finished off last season, with the other 3 new signings, the likes of Alex Scott, Couto and Lacroix, all featuring on the bench, and they will be hoping they can come on later in the game and really show an impact here in front of the travelling Evertonians. So a big game, and this is a big opportunity for us to put a marker down here in our very first Premier League game. We started off last season with aplomb and really took control of the Premier League, but it was towards the back end of the season that we really started to struggle. We've got to hope that we can make amends this season, start off exactly as we did last year, but hopefully have the squad depth to be able to go all the way. Into Engels now for Nottingham Forest. He's going to look to try and go out to the left-hand side, does to Callum Hudson-Odoi, who caused me all sorts of problems the last time that I faced Nottingham Forest, but he hasn't managed to this time. Mark Gay puts in a lovely interception, and now we can try and play out from the back here with Matt O'Reilly looking for some sort of option here. Can I find Hatto down the left-hand side? I can, and Hatto is going to give it to Emile Smith-Rowe for his first touch in an Everton shirt, and he plays it down the line into Hatto again. Nice build-up play here. Can the Dutchman throw it in? He was looking for Bakayoko at the back post, couldn't find him. Onana will find O'Reilly though, and he will try and strike. Instead though, it's blazed against the defender and hacked clear by Nottingham Forest. Good start though for Everton Football Club. O'Reilly into Teresiano round the corner here. As you can see, it is all guns blazing here for Everton as we try and see if we can unlock this Nottingham Forest defence. But it's a good piece of defending from the centre-back, and they can bring it clear now. And now they can try and see if they can hit us on the counter-attack. Alanga's going to try and go one-on-one with Hato. Doesn't have the confidence or the pace to do so, though, and instead cuts it back. But now they've got a man over here. Laria down this right-hand side. Hato frantically tries to come across. It's Teresiano, of course, in the right place at the right time. The Dutchman now heads it away into the path of Damsgaard. Out to Bakayoko, and again, end-to-end stuff here in the opening 20 minutes now as Brian Brobby tries to go down the right-hand side, feeds it into Bakayoko. Lovely stuff here. Bakayoko's going to try and switch it onto his left, drive into the penalty area here, and he just can't go past his second player, and in the end, Nottingham Forest managed to get the ball clear. Bakayoko has it again, though, and this time he's going to come central to try and see if he can find any more options, and he does find Emil Smith-Rowe, who's done a really good job of shielding the ball, and has done an even better job of finding Hato on the left-hand side. Hato goes in field. Hato lines up a strike with his right. Good save. Well, it's not often you see the left-back driving into the centre of midfield and taking a shot on with his right foot, but perhaps he senses that in his fourth season in an Everton shirt, he's really got the opportunity to establish himself as the best left-back in the Premier League. As Emil Smith-Rowe flies it in into Onana. What a one-handed save from Turner. I thought that was going to be a fabulous assist on his debut from Emil Smith-Rowe, but it was not meant to be. But Onana still keeps the ball alive, tries to play it in field for the on-rushing Hato, but couldn't quite find the final pass. But now Nottingham Forest have got a wonderful opportunity to hit us on the break here as we had all the men forward. Alanga comes forward. Branthwaite can't come across. Pickford, though, does. And Pickford, the England international, makes himself big and makes a huge save there as we were surely going to go 1-0 down. Callum Hudson-Odoi has it, though, for Nottingham Forest. End-to-end stuff here at the Forest ground here. Neither team able to find their way through, but both teams look like they are going to do so every time they attack. O'Brien into Engels, into Alanga. Alanga strikes, and this time he does manage to beat Jordan Pickford right on the stroke of half-time. Nottingham Forest take the lead. Or frustratingly, with me thinking that those new signings would inspire the rest of my squad to step up, it looks like we've picked up exactly from where we left off last season, conceding at the back end of the first half, meaning it's 1-0 Nottingham Forest, and we've got a big job to do here in the second 45. Engels into Banza now, who's trying to be tracked back by Jared Branthwaite, but Nottingham Forest playing some really good football, but this time it's Onana who wins it back, and Emil Smith-Rowe is trying to make the dart forward here. It's Damsgaard, who does, and Damsgaard's going to... I was trying to look around the corner for Brian Brobby. It wasn't the best ball, and now Nottingham Forest yet again can try to hit us on the counter-attack. Engels to bring it forward, finds a lovely ball into Banza. Jordan Pickford tries to come out, does manage to come out, and just about manages to get a hand to it. Emil Smith-Rowe on the left-hand side, down the line into Hato, really nicely done. Hato tries to check back, but Brobby was in the wrong place. Didn't manage to find the cutback, and yet again we are still scratching our heads here trying to unlock this Nottingham Forest defence. Alanga now for Forest into O'Brien. He's blocked off by O'Reilly, and now Emil Smith-Rowe can try and bring it clear for us into Damsgaard, who's been a fairly peripheral figure so far in this game, but he's going to try and put a stop to that now as he looks over to Teresiano down the right side. Lovely ball into Bakayoko around the corner into Brian Brobby, who strikes, and Brian Brobby levels us here at the Forest ground. He celebrates in front of the camera. That is a big goal, and he will be hoping to start the season exactly as he started off last one. A big counter-attack, a lovely defence-splitting pass from Teresiano, lovely round the corner ball from Bakayoko into Brobby, and of course that man will not miss in those positions. A big strike and a big moment. It's 1-1. O'Reilly pressing high now. We surely have our tails up here as I've made a couple of substitutions. Jota has come on, as has Alex Scott to make his debut in an Everton shirt. Can either of those players spark this Everton team to try and turn this game around? And Sufati now for Nottingham Forest, over the top into Callum Hudson-Odoi. They know if anything is going to come for Nottingham Forest, it is going to come through that man, but it's well defended by Mark Gay. And O'Reilly now down the line into Bakayoko, takes it onto his left, goes infield to Emil Smith-Rowe, come over into this central attacking midfield position. That is the versatility that the Englishman offers as Jota has come on the left-hand side, and Jota is the man who picks it up again and plays it into the new signing Emil Smith-Rowe, but he can't quite get hold of it. And in the end, Nottingham Forest win it back yet again. Just a couple of minutes plus stoppage time remaining on the clock here, and we cannot find the breakthrough. Gaia has it for Nottingham Forest. Down the left-hand side, lovely ball through the channel into Callum Hudson-Odoi. Mark Gay's going to come across to try and challenge him. Instead, it's cut inside for Engels. Where are my players? What is my defence doing? Carved open like a knife through butter. Absolute shambles at the back. And Nottingham Forest in stoppage time have gone and stolen the 3 points here at the Forest ground. Well, I'm absolutely smashing L1 to try and get focus onto some of these players, and it just doesn't seem to be working. All of my defenders just running away from the ball. They've left acres of space inside my penalty area, and Jordan Pickford could do absolutely nothing about that. I am Gutted. I cannot believe it. It's 2-1 Forest. Well, it's a devastating way to start the new season. That is not what we wanted one bit. Because it means at full time here, it finishes Nottingham Forest 2, Everton 1. Well, conceding in stoppage time of the first half and stoppage time of the second half just goes to show that we are still lacking that maturity that we need to try and challenge for the Premier League title. To his credit, I thought Emile Smith-Rowe had a fairly decent start to his Everton career, and that is evidenced by the fact that he got a 7.5 rating in his debut. And Brian Brobby continued from where he started last season, scoring a wonderful goal in his first game of the season. But defensively, the likes of Mark Gay and Branthwaite were left wanting in the pivotal moments of the game, and perhaps Maxence Lacroix is going to get his opportunity to start for us sooner rather than later. However, in more pressing news, with Jordan Pickford now only having 10 months left remaining on his contract and still only being the only goalkeeper at the club, I have made the decision that I want to meet with both he and his agent to try and see if I can thrash out a new deal for the England international. Despite his up and down performances, he is still a crucial player for Everton, and I think he does deserve an opportunity to continue in goal for us and continue his fight for Premier League glory this season. And so that is why I've decided to keep him at the club at least for another 2 years and keep him as my number one goalkeeper between the sticks. However, with the departure of Virginia meaning that he is now the only goalkeeper at the club, but with me only having £16 million left in my transfer budget to try and find a backup, I've decided to go with someone who too can offer us a bit more experience. He's someone who's got time playing in Spain, playing in France, and now he's finally going to get the opportunity to ply his trade in England for the first time in his career, as the Spaniard Ruben Blanco joins Everton Football Club from Marseille for £3.2 million. Clearly he's not a world beater, but he does have a better rating than our departing reserve goalkeeper, and obviously with him being 31 years of age, he does have some experience that we need that hopefully will help us in the pivotal moments if Jordan Pickford is struggling for form. Speaking of form though, it's now time for us to see if we can get ourselves back to winning ways and get our form back on track, as we're going to be facing off against Brentford at Goodison Park for the first time this season. And with that loss against Nottingham Forest, I have decided to make a couple of changes to my starting 11, and it means debuts for Maxence Lacroix as he comes in at the back for Jared Branthwaite, who drops to the bench, and it also means another starting debut, this time for Alex Scott, as he comes in behind Brian Brobby up front in place of Damsgaard, who too drops to the bench as well. This is a big game here. We cannot afford to lose this one. We cannot afford to start the season with back-to-back losses, especially in front of our own fans here at Goodison Park. Stevens into Garcia. Garcia is surely going to look to go down the right-hand side. Instead goes his own way and goes in field to Mbeumo. And Mbeumo now is going to try and burst into the penalty area. Goes past one of my defenders into Lehmann. And Lehmann just strikes it low and hard past Jordan Pickford. And we have started off this season in woeful form. Brentford inside 10 minutes have taken the lead. What is happening to Everton Football Club at the start of this season? Our heads have completely dropped. Have the new signings had the opposite effect on this team? Have they unsettled my players? And have they caused complete discontent among the squad? I'm disgusted. It's 1-0. Well, this is not the start I wanted nor I expected whatsoever. 1-0 down inside the opening 10 minutes. And we have it all to do here at Goodison Park. Lacroix now to try and bring it out of defence, showing that pace and power that is exactly the reason why I bought him here. Alex Scott, though, tries to play it through the lines into Emile Smith-Rowe, and the defender just gets there ahead of the Englishman. Pinnock for Brentford. We're trying to press high, but Brentford are beating the press, and they've managed to get the ball up to their strikers here, and Mbeumo into Norgard. Brentford playing some really lovely stuff here, full of confidence, but they go and give the ball away to Hatto, and now we can try and see if we can hit them on the counter-attack. Down the left-hand side, into Emile Smith-Rowe. He's got the pace here to burst down this left-hand side, and he's going to cut it back in to Alex Scott, who shifts it onto his right. Goes for goal, straight at the goalkeeper, who makes a bit of a hash of it, but just about manages to bounce and pounce on the ball before Brian Brobby got there. Banana into Emile Smith-Rowe. This is much better now from Everton Football Club, and Emile Smith-Rowe is absolutely taken out, but it is a good challenge. We can have no complaints here as Mbeumo now tries to burst down the right-hand side. He's got the beating of Onana for pace, and is he going to try and go into my penalty area? He does, but Onana tries to come across. Brilliant recovery challenge from the young man, and now he releases Emile Smith-Rowe. Can we try and see if we can hit them on our own counter-attack? But the Englishman goes and gives the ball away, and that is symptomatic of our display so far here today, as Brentford have it now inside my penalty area. It's blocked off, though, by Mark Gay. We are living life on the edge here inside the opening 39 minutes. Well, we're 45 minutes into this game, and once again we find ourselves 1-0 down at the start of the second half. What is going on here at Everton Football Club? And yet again, we have it all to do. We've got to come from behind and try and see if we can get our first 3 points of the season. Bakayoko now is going to try and go down this right-hand side. He's gone past one player. He's gone past two. Can he go past three? No, he can't. Good defending in the end from Brentford. And now De Silva can bring it away, and De Silva goes down the line, and Teresiano misjudged the ball there, but Mark Gay didn't. Mark A does manage to put a decent challenge in. It's Teresiano now to try and bring it central, and Teresiano does bring it central and finds Matt O'Reilly. I'm going to try and see if I can release Brian Brobby, but instead he looks to go out wide to Emile Smith-Rowe. It wasn't the best chance And it wasn't the best ball, and Emil Smith-Rowe couldn't get on the end of it. He's going to try and fight back to see if he can win it, but he can't. And now Mbuemo to bring it clear for Brentford into Garcia, who's picked up the ball centrally. De Silva tried to play it across. Marc Guéhi, though, managed to make the interception, and he feeds it out to Bakayoko on the right-hand side. He goes central looking for Brian Brobby, and again gives the ball away. And again, our passing in the final third has been so poor at our opening 2 games here in the Premier League campaign. Marc Guéhi into Onana. Onana twisting, turning, finds a nice ball into Emil Smith-Rowe, who's found a nice little pocket of space, but Emil Smith-Rowe gets a bit lucky with the bounce, and it's off the post. My word, Emil Smith-Rowe was so unlucky. He was inches away from a goal on his home debut. Oh my word, it's just so unfortunate for the Englishman. Bakayoko now for Everton. Has that managed to just try and give us a little bit of momentum here to try and see if we can find our way into this game? O'Reilly cuts it back into Teresiano. A first-time ball looking for Brian Brobby. Couldn't quite find him. The right back, though, will win it back. Tries to head it down. Gets it wrong, though. And Brentford hack the ball clear and clear their lines. Hato now has it to try and bring it forward. Hato into O'Reilly. O'Reilly now tries to see if he can find a way forward. Does manage to find Bakayoko. Bakayoko can't find Teresiano. Eventually, he does manage to, though. The Italian turning, twisting. Finds Bakayoko. Bakayoko's going to try and play it into the box here to Brian Brobby. Onto his left. Brian Brobby can't manage to just get through the barrage of Brentford players. And in the end, it's hacked clear yet again. Well, Ian Maatson on as a substitute is going to take the throw. And Jota, another substitute now, is going to try and see if he can spark some sort of creativity into this team as he's managed to find Damsgaard. Damsgaard now just trying to wriggle away, trying to find an opportunity to strike. But Brentford do enough to hold the ball up. And instead, I play it all the way out wide to Jan Couto. He's going to throw it in now, looking for the volley of Jota. Couldn't quite find it. We'll knock it back into Bakayoko, but I think he's just straight offside. It's going to be a free kick here for Brentford with just a matter of minutes and moments remaining in this game. They just need to stay professional and keep hold of the ball, but that is something that they have not been able to do, as Bakayoko now is going to try and see if he can streak down this right-hand side. Can he try and play a ball into Moukoko? O'Reilly, though, manages to. Moukoko on as a sub. What a save from the goalkeeper. I thought it was going to be another fabulous impact sub, but it was not meant to be, as the referee blows for full time. Well, we had our chances at the back end of the game, but yet again we couldn't take them. And unbelievably, we start this Premier League campaign with back-to-back losses. As at full time here at Goodison Park, it finishes Everton 0, Brentford 1. I've got to be honest, this was not what I was expecting whatsoever. 4 huge new signings who have come in to a team that is now in 19th place in the Premier League table, only being propped up by Chelsea in 20th. It's a horrendous start for Everton Football Club, and already with just 2 games played, I am feeling the pressure and the weight of expectation on my shoulders. Can we arrest this terrible start, and can we try and see if we can find our way back up to the top end of the Premier League table? You're going to have to watch next time to find out, because that is it for the end of today's episode. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next time.